She never expected her wedding day to feel this heavy, not with fear, but with love so deep it almost hurt. As Emily Harper stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the simple lace veil she'd chosen, her hands trembled, not because she doubted her groom, but because she knew the world doubted her choice. People kept asking why she, a bright, beautiful, ambitious young woman with a future mapped out in clean lines and shining promises, would fall in love with a man like Daniel Reyes, quiet, unassuming, and scarred in ways that made strangers stare longer than they should. But she was used to it all. What she wasn't used to was the look of fear in Daniel's eyes the night before, the way he held her hand almost too tightly, as if he was afraid she'd disappear. Emily had always believed real love wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing someone, fully, boldly, blindly, because you saw the truth in them. And yet, as the church bells chimed and the guests rose to their feet, she couldn't shake the feeling that Daniel was hiding something. Something big. Something he thought might break her heart. She just didn't know it would reveal itself at the altar. Daniel wasn't the kind of man most girls grew up dreaming about. He didn't have a chiseled jaw, expensive suits, or the kind of confidence that filled a room. Instead, he had soft brown eyes that held a lifetime of quiet pain, arms strong from years of honest labor, and a smile that appeared slowly, like sunlight pushing through clouds. Emily had met him at the community center where she volunteered tutoring kids after her college classes. He was the maintenance worker, always in the background, fixing things that needed fixing and ignoring the people who ignored him. Until the day he didn't. It had been a cold October afternoon, the kind where wind whipped through the cracks of the old building and rattled the windows. Emily had stayed late grading assignments when she noticed Daniel struggling to lift a heavy box of replacements for the center's broken heaters. When she rushed over to help, he tried to stop her, insisting he was fine. But she saw it, the flash of pain in his shoulder, the way he clenched his jaw. He'd been hiding an injury. She didn't walk away. She never did. That moment led to a conversation. That conversation led to a friendship. And that friendship grew into something that made both of their worlds feel safer, warmer. Daniel wasn't used to being chosen. Emily wasn't used to someone looking at her as if she was enough, just as she was, not the perfect image everyone expected. Still, not everything was perfect. Daniel carried scars, some visible, some deeply buried inside, and though he told Emily parts of his past, she always sensed there was more. Something painful. Something he wasn't ready to share. She didn't push him. She believed love would unravel the knots in his time. But now, standing at the altar, she could see something in his posture, a tension that wasn't there before. When he lifted his head, his eyes glimmered with a mixture of fear and determination, as if he had finally made a choice of his own. The priest began speaking, but Emily barely heard the words. Her eyes stayed locked on Daniel's trembling hands. And then, in the middle of the ceremony, just as they were about to exchange vows, the doors of the church opened with a soft creak. Everyone turned. A little boy, no more than 5, stood there holding the hand of an older woman who looked vaguely familiar. The boy's big brown eyes were a mirror of Daniel's. Emily heard someone gasp. The whispers started instantly. Is that? Wait, does Daniel have a kid? Emily's breath caught in her throat. The room spun slightly. She looked at Daniel, but he wasn't surprised. He closed his eyes, exhaled, and whispered, I'm sorry. Her heart cracked, not because of the child, but because Daniel had been carrying this weight alone. The boy let go of the woman's hand and rushed forward, straight toward Daniel. Daddy. The word echoed through the church like a stone hitting still water. Daniel knelt, hugging the child tightly, his entire body shaking with emotion. And suddenly, Emily understood. This was the secret. This was what kept him awake at night. This was what he had tried to tell her a dozen times but always backed out. He wasn't hiding the boy from her because he didn't trust her. He was hiding him because he didn't think he was worthy, because life had convinced him that Emily deserved someone without baggage, without scars, without a past that came in the shape of a frightened little boy with the same eyes. The older woman approached Emily gently, her voice soft with apology. I didn't mean to disrupt anything, but Daniel's sister, my daughter, was in an accident this morning. I had to take her to the hospital. She's stable, but Daniel is the boy's guardian. I had nowhere else to bring him. Emily's heart raced. She turned back toward Daniel, who stood holding his son, there was no doubt now, close to his chest. He looked terrified. Not because of the crowd. Not because of the moment. Because he thought he was losing her. I wanted to tell you, he whispered through tears. So many times. I thought if you knew, you'd walk away. Everyone always walks away. Emily stepped forward slowly, her wedding gown gliding across the aisle like a soft wave. The guests held their breath. Some looked shocked, others moved. The boy watched her with wide, uncertain eyes, as if he wasn't sure if he should hide behind his father or smile. Emily knelt, her hands gentle as she reached out. Hi there, she said softly. The little boy hesitated, then shyly placed his tiny hand in hers. Emily's heart melted. Daniel, she whispered, standing again and facing him fully. I didn't choose you because of what you have or don't have. I chose you because of your heart. Because of the way you care. Because of the way you love. Tears slipped down Daniel's cheeks. You deserve someone better. Someone who doesn't come with surprises like this. She shook her head. No. I deserve someone real. And you, everything about you, is real. He broke. Right there, in the middle of the church. Emily placed her hand on his cheek, wiping his tears with her thumb. This boy is a part of you. How could I ever not want him? The child looked up at her again, confusion slowly turning into trust. The priest hesitated, unsure what to do next, but Emily turned to him with a small, steady smile. We can continue. But Daniel held her hand tightly. Wait, there's more. Her heart pounded again. More. Daniel took a deep breath and slowly removed his jacket. The room gasped as large scars, deep, old, angry, covered his forearm and shoulder. I wasn't just injured at work, he said, voice trembling. I was hurt protecting my sister and her son. That's how he ended up with me. I didn't want you to see this and think I was broken. Emily stared at the scars, her chest tightening with emotions too heavy to name. She didn't move away. She touched them. Every scar. Every mark. Every line. Daniel, she whispered, nothing about you is broken. These scars, they only show how much love you've already given. He sobbed. Quiet, deep, uncontrollable. The kind of sob a man releases only when someone finally tells him he's enough. The guests wiped their eyes. Even the priest looked moved. Emily took Daniel's hand, intertwined her fingers with his, and squeezed. Let's finish this. Not because we're perfect, but because we're choosing each other, even with the pieces that hurt. Daniel nodded, lifting their joined hands toward the priest. The vows were spoken through tears. Daniel promised to love her with everything he was, his past, his future, and the little boy who held his leg throughout the ceremony. Emily promised to love not only Daniel but the child who now held part of his heart outside his body. When they kissed, the room erupted in applause so loud it shook the stained glass windows. And the boy, Daniel's son, wrapped his arms around Emily's dress and whispered, Do I get to call you mom now? Emily knelt again, pulling him close. Only if you want to. He nodded eagerly, burying his face in her shoulder. Daniel watched them with awe, love overflowing in a way that made the entire room soften. He had walked into this day terrified. He was walking out of it with more than a wife. He was walking out with a family. Their wedding reception wasn't fancy. It wasn't perfect. The cake leaned slightly to one side, kids ran around the yard with sticky hands, and Emily's father kept accidentally stepping on her dress during photos. But none of it mattered. Not when Daniel kept glancing at her like she was the single thing anchoring him to the world. Not when the little boy sat on her lap during dinner as if he had known her forever. Later that evening, when the guests were gone and the stars blinked awake, Emily and Daniel sat on the porch steps holding hands. The boy slept inside, curled up on the couch with a blanket Emily had tucked around him. Daniel rested his head against hers. Why didn't you walk away? You had every reason to. She smiled gently. Because love isn't about finding a perfect story. It's about choosing someone, even when the pages are messy. And my pages are very messy. Good, she whispered. That means they're real. Daniel kissed her forehead, a slow, grateful kiss that lingered like a promise. You saved me today. She shook her head. No. You saved yourself. You just finally let me see who you really are. He exhaled, long and shaky. I love you, Emily. She squeezed his hand. And I love you. All of you. Under the soft glow of porch lights and the quiet hum of crickets, they knew the truth. Love wasn't about looks. Love wasn't about perfect timing, perfect people, or perfect stories. Love was choosing someone, even when the world didn't understand why. And Emily Harper. She had chosen right.